Hey family, Dad here. Hope you're having a great day. On this video, I just wanted to reflect on my past. I'm 49 years old today, and I've accomplished everything so far on one income. Now, I know there's a lot of talk on social media, YouTube, about the challenges of today's world when it comes to cost of living, finances, debt, and a lot of people struggle. It's real. Inflation's real, cost of living has gone up drastically. But I am here to say is that it's doable, with a little discipline, time, and having right mindset. You can turn it over, you can make the changes for the long term. Now, here I am today, 49 years old. I own my own home. I have 3 cars that are under my name that are all paid off. And I save money. I save, invest for retirement, all on one income. Now, in my past, I've been divorced. I was divorced back in 2006. I was overweight. I didn't even have a job during this time. And I was about to take on some credit card debt that was on my own, paying child support, all the stuff that you'd think would hold me back. That was really the time that I changed my mindset. Life could not be any worse than it was back in 2006. At the time, my kids are 3 and 1 years old. It was going to be an uphill challenge. One of the first things I did at that time was I cashed out my 401k, which was roughly about $30,000 after all taxes and a 10% penalty that I was penalized for taking out my 401k, paid off all the debt and started fresh. I was fortunate I found another job in 2006 that paid me significantly more and also would give me the work-life balance where I could help take care of my kids. Now, over the course of time, I slowly got my kids from half the time to full time. And that wasn't just because of luck of the draw. It was because I actually gave a shit about my kids. I prioritized them. I made them the first priority for everything. And then back in 2019, they realized that they wanted to stay with me. Now, granted, they were a little older. They were about 15 and 13 at the time, but they wanted to make that choice that they wanted to live with me full time. Now, as I look back, I've definitely made a lot of mistakes, but one thing that really helped me a lot was when I got divorced, when I cashed out my 401k, when I started the new job in 2006, I started another retirement account with that company in 2006. And at that time as well, I refinanced my house, so everything was under my name. And my parents did help me out with a little bit of finances during that time. It was rough. It was definitely rough, and I was very fortunate. Now, from that time in 2006 till about maybe 2014, I lived a life that was probably a little too extravagant for me. Not that I got into any serious debt or anything like that, but it was stuff looking back that I didn't really need. A little fancier clothes. I did buy a new car during that time with my company that I started with in 2006, and then I got laid off in 2009, and I was stuck with a car payment. I was stuck with a car payment because my company at the time provided me with a car allowance. So that was really convenient, and that's why I bought a new car. Kind of over leveraged myself. And that was at the time where I really realized that, hey, I shouldn't spend more than I make. And that's when I realized I don't need anything fancy in my mid to late 30s. And then in 2016, I bought a new house. So I sold my existing house, my old house at the time, and I bought a bigger house just to upgrade. But the biggest thing was that I wanted the convenience for my kids to walk to school. And mind you, I didn't over leverage myself. It was a house that I could afford easily. And then over the course of time, I ended up buying more cars, and very fortunate that the jobs that I've had, they either provided a company car or they provided a car allowance. Now, that first time when I bought a brand new car and the company was providing me a car allowance and then I got laid off, I realized that I don't need brand new cars. So slowly over time, I started, when I worked for a company that did provide car allowances, I stayed with something used and practical. And during those times, I bought a 2010 Toyota Prius that was used. And then I also bought a 2018 Nissan Sentra that was used. Majority of my career, I've worked for companies that provided a company car, which was really convenient. So I didn't have to deal with the hassles and the nightmares of dealing with repairs, accidents, insurance, and all that kind of stuff. And with that came just a small out-of-pocket kind of monthly expense that I had to pay for, which is not bad at all. The current company I work for right now provides a company car, and I pay $130 a month, and that covers everything. And I would much rather do that than have my own car. Now, over the course of that time as well, I also was mindful about retirement and long-term investing. I started, like I said, back again at 30, and I slowly ramped up over time. Life is not a sprint. but it's a marathon. And that should be the same mindset in investing as well. Don't give yourself 5 years. Don't give yourself 10 years to invest. Give yourself 30 to 40 years to invest, and invest consistently year after year. Now, as I look back in my late 30s, when I was a lot more mindful and started learning about personal finance, it kicks me that I should have learned. What if I learned back in my early 30s or even late 20s about personal finance? Where would I be today at 49 years old? What if I did not cash out my 401k back in 2005? Also, when it comes to clothing, I don't buy expensive clothing. I try to minimize clothing. I buy cheap clothing. Now, as far as a job, I try to increase my income with every job. And for the most part, I have been successful. The only time that I did fail was back in 2022 when I was in tech. I got hired in April of 2021, and it lasted through December of 2022 when I got cut. Tech layoffs started happening. Mind you, that was probably the highest paying income that I had during my career so far. I got a nice severance out of it. Fortunately, I was able to find a job a couple months later after that December of 2022 layoff. But it was a pay cut. It wasn't that drastic of a pay cut, but it was a pay cut. And that hurt a little bit, but I could still survive. And with that job, that only lasted for 18 months before I got laid off again, another severance package. And then fortunately, I was able to find a job very quickly. And that layoff happened in May of 2024. And fortunately, I found a job right away. But again, it was the same income that I was making. Fast forward to April of 2025, and I was fortunate. I got a drastic pay bump to the point where I was making the same amount of money as I was with my tech role in April of 2021. And during my late 30s as well, that's when I started paying attention to YouTube for personal finance podcasts like Dave Ramsey and the Money Guys show. And they've been doing it for a long time. Those are the folks you want to listen to on how to cut expenses, how to save your money, and prepare for retirement. You don't want to look on TikTok. You don't want to look on Instagram and look at all these guys that are flashing money in front of you and saying they made 10x on what they invested in 6 months and they made a huge profit. That's not how investments work. For majority of us, it's going to be the long game. Consistently save every month and do it for the long haul. Now, I'm not an expert, but I do know that I am pretty disciplined overall. You can see my previous videos. I share my net worth and my expenses and whatnot. If I can do it, you can do it. It just takes a little discipline, time, and effort. So tell me your thoughts. Where are you at in your journey of life? Are you making ground? Are you saving money? Are you retired? Or are you starting out in life? Comment, like, subscribe. I would definitely appreciate it. So that's all I got. I'll see you all at the next video.